In our world, knowing what's true is becoming extremely difficult to know if you're looking out into the world. Like the number of AI channels on YouTube, for example, that are just creating stuff. It's not the person at all. I've come across a couple of them, right? You're like, wow, what is that? Or the things that AI is creating. And that's just the AI stuff. That's not to say what all of the other kind of information that people are putting out. One of the things I said in a recent video I did is I think we're really strongly in the age of misinformation. And so if that's true, then what do we do? And so my invitation to you is that the more that you can grow your relationship with that wise one within, that inner being of yours, the more you're going to be able to know what's true by how you feel in your body, by how you resonate, if you resonate with it or something, or not. I was watching a video with my kid recently, and we absolutely started sobbing when we felt the ring of truth by what was being brought forward for us. They felt it too, and they're pretty science-based and left brain. I mean, they're opening up to this stuff, but we sort of looked at each other and I said, that's what I'm talking about. Right. That's what I'm talking about when you have this felt sense that you're like, oh, okay, that's true. And the felt sense is like, not so much. Right. Some of you probably have heard of the trauma triangle before, or I think it was originally called the drama triangle when it was developed in the 60s. And so it's this idea that we move through these three different archetypes. I would say that they are primary archetypes of what I call the Age of Empire, the last 5,000 years or so, where we moved into a culture of power over that was held in place by violence and coercion or the threat thereof. And we've been living inside of that for 5,000 years. And it's shown up differently at different times in different locations and different cultures. But it's been a predominant expression of human consciousness because it was where we were at. Some people would say it's because of what we were allowed to do. If you start leaning into galactic history, then that is one perspective, is that we actually have not been allowed to move into our full blossoming of our consciousness that we are capable of, and that is a big piece of what this time is about. So there's that. But whatever you choose to lean into, this definitely, victim, perpetrator, rescuer, is something that has been very prominent in our lives. And if you just think about the kind of news that is available to us, it is all about, you cannot find another archetype in the news other than one of these, right? It's always one of these. And the news, of course, in many ways is designed to keep us in this this paradigm. The news used to be different, but now the news is always asking us to take a side. It's choosing us to judge someone. It's choosing to see a different group of people as evil in some way. It is fostering the division, the polarization, the conflict energy, right? And so I want to ask you just to take a moment here and think about this. So victim consciousness is like, this is like the gate 28, which has been a huge learning for me, the gate 28. And it's like you feel like the world is coming at you. You feel like all you can do is manage what's coming at you. It's a feeling of not having agency, of being helpless and hopeless. The perpetrators, because they do not want to be victims, will grab control of situations and manipulate situations and people. And there's a huge trajectory about how we do this, because, of course, we see people who are actual predators who do this, but we also do this more subtly in our lives kind of all the time, which is trying to manipulate things so that they'll go our way. This is something women have been really enculturated into under patriarchy, because the only way for many, many centuries that we could gain power was through manipulation. So this is a piece that we do want to look at in ourselves as well and see how we can dismantle it. And then the rescuer is wanting to protect the victim from the perpetrator, right? Or wanting to help people heal. But the key thing about the rescuer is they do it to their own detriment. They do it to the point where they actually drain themselves trying to help other people. They can also become righteous in what they do. They can become judgmental. They can step into that where, the perpetrators are evil, right? And we want to judge them. We want them to have retribution. So rescuers can turn into that as well. Victims can turn into that as well. And so I want to just give you like 5 minutes. Pull out your journal. And I want you to write for like 5 minutes and to tune into which of these do you feel like you have inhabited and expressed the most in your life? I know I have inhabited all of them. I think the rescuer is the one that I was most cultured into in my family because I grew up during feminism and grew up doing civil rights, and rescuer is really strong in kind of human rights language. But I know I've been perpetrator and victim as well. Okay, so I'm going to put a timer on and go ahead and just pick one of these. And you can pick more than one if that works for you. And just write about this and notice how you feel about that. Notice if you go into any judgment of yourself, try to be kind of as neutral as you can as you do that. So if we really want to change out of this trauma triangle, right, we have to change our nervous system. I recently have been certified in Neurosomatic Intelligence, which is a beautiful system. Boy, have I learned a lot about the brain. But it's a beautiful way of us getting to learn the language of the nervous system and learning how to partner with our nervous system rather than trying to dominate it, which is generally the way that we have been taught to work with it. So the nervous system has three priorities. Okay. Number one priority is protect and preserve the physical body. Okay. It'll do anything to protect and preserve the physical body, including making you pass out. So it's number one priority. Its number two priority is movement. Think about that for a moment, how much we don't move in our lives. Whereas, human beings, before we came into such a technological society, we were outside moving all the time, right? And so this is one thing you can take with you. We're not going to do a lot with movement today, but just know that movement is absolutely key. And then the other is the visual system. The visual system is at the top of the neurological hierarchy. And so, what happens with your eyes, it affects your entire body. I have had a lot of relief from tension in my neck and my shoulder that I have had for years. And I've been to a gazillion body workers about it by working with my visual system. Because what I came to see, because I've spent so much time on screens and even reading books, is that my eyes were getting locked in place and they were fatigued, they were tired. And that as I have restored and rehabilitated my eyes, my whole body feels different. It's very interesting. So your nervous system is your operating system, and change happens at the level of the nervous system. True change happens at the level of the nervous system, and it happens instantaneously and throughout the entire nervous system. So, what the things I'm going to teach you today, you're going to get instant feedback from your nervous system. Do I like that? Do I not like that? It doesn't have to be even in the same area of the body. It doesn't have to be the same kind of thing at all, because the nervous system will immediately give you feedback. And so when we learn to what the language is, that creates the ability for us to communicate and work with and partner with. So the nervous system is the most fundamental aspect, right? So everything that we experience in our lives, our emotions, our beliefs, our expectations, and how we act, all emerge out of our nervous system. And a lot of times we try to use our willpower, for example, to change our actions. right? Or to change our reactions. Like, oh, I'm not going to be reactive in that situation anymore. Or like if you think about, the whole dieting thing or resolutions, right? It's like we try to change our actions, but if we don't change our nervous system, we can't stick with the actions because the nervous system says that change is energetically expensive. And unless you are well resourced enough, the nervous system literally will not allow you to change. Okay, so let's talk about. I love this concept of the stress bucket or the threat bucket. So, if we think that we have a certain amount of capacity in our nervous system, okay, that how much capacity with our nervous system is determines how we work with stress. And a lot of times we don't realize how full our stress bucket is. If the stress bucket is right, so here's my water bottle, right? And if my stress bucket is full with water, or I mean it's full with stress, right? I don't have a lot of capacity to deal with things that start to happen in my life. And what puts stress in your bucket? Well, a lot of things that you might not even think about, right? It's like your movement, for example, if your movement is impaired for some reason, that's going to create stress. Your nutrition, what you eat, can create stress. Your lack of sleep, your structure. Like I've been working with an injury that I had to my pelvis when I was like 7 and 8, because uh, that way that has impacted my structure that is still with me all these years later, like almost 60 years later, is still putting stress into my stress bucket. If your vision is off in some ways, then that'll put a lot of stress into your stress bucket. If you wear glasses, right, that's an indicator that your vision isn't 100%. Not that you shouldn't wear glasses or you shouldn't do things, but one of the things I've learned is that like your eyes do not have to deteriorate as you grow older. And I've been rehabbing my eyes. I have pretty good eyes anyway, but I've been rehabbing them with the tools I've learned from NSI, which is Neurosomatic Intelligence. I really rehabbed this right eye already. And so there's ways that we can work with our visual system. And when it's off, it creates stress. Okay, smells create stress, touch can create stress, right? But also relationships, conversations that we've had, negative thinking, our relationship to our work in the world, our relationship to money and abundance, and of course, prejudice creates stress, whether we feel like we receive prejudice or even if we're people we feel prejudice against others, that's going to create stress. And what happens is it fills up your stress bucket, right? It fills it up, fills it up, fills it up. And we don't even know that. And then when we only have this little tiny bit of capacity left, this is when we're reactive, right? This is when we don't have the ability really to process what's coming at us. And so, what we want to be able to do is to lower the stress in our stress bucket. Now, when your stress bucket is full, you're going to have experiences like this. So I'm going to read these off. I want you to pick 2 or 3 of these that you're like, oh, wow, yeah, that is a big one for me. So overwhelm, confusion, irritation, reactivity, depression, anxiety or fear, dizziness, sensory overload, fatigue, bracing or stiffness, inflammation, migraines, pain in the body, falling or being off balance, digestive issues, restlessness, bumping into things, eyeglasses, insomnia, scoliosis, aggression, passivity, and dissociation, right? Which of these do you go, oh, yeah, either I get that now or I've gotten it in the past? Like I used to get migraines in the past. I don't get them anymore, but that was a big one for me. Um, and I know sometimes I can have a lot of irritation right now, I think because of the solar storms, but also just because of what's going on out there in the world. And I kind of pick it up and that can make me irritated, right? So just look at these things and be like, what are the things that I tend to have happen? And realize that those are at least partially a result of too much stress in your stress bucket. Okay. And some of them are really important for us as we go older, like the thing I said about the eyes, right? Imagine what it's like if you notice that your eyesight is deteriorating as you go older, if you could actually rehabilitate that, how much that would help you move through the world with more confidence, or things like better balance, not bumping into the things. One of the things that really happens for people as they get older, and the fear that people have is that they're going to fall, right? And break a hip. I mean, it happens when we get elderly. So what it would be like if we could actually not have that happen. And then you can just see what really you go, oh gosh, yeah, I have that. And then when you have more space in your stress bucket, you get outcomes like this. You get, and then I want you to take a look at these and go, you know what? I want to pick my top two or three that I would really love to have more of this in my life. So mental clarity, relaxed alertness, calm, responsiveness, flexibility, curiosity, physical ability, sensory pleasure, resilience, clear vision, wholeness, sense of wholeness, coordination in my body, reliable balance, pain-free movement, stronger immunity, better digestion, better decision making, strength and speed, embodiment, joy in life, emotional flow, speaking your truth, and better communication. So just pick two or three of these, okay? And be like, wow, I would really love to have more of this in my life. And then I want you to let's take like, let's see what time it is. I want you to take like 5 minutes for yourself and imagine what difference would it make for you in your life if you had more of these positive outputs, positive experiences versus the other. What could become possible in your life if you were to make that transition? Is I wanted to introduce you to the kind of work that we do in the Sovereign Sisterhood, which is our virtual quantum community of support and awakening and really a creative activity and camaraderie and sisterhood that is designed to give us a place where we can really take off the masks and show up as we are and do our work, our inner work, so that we can show up in the world as a sovereign being. And that is an ongoing process. And I wanted to share some of this with all of you because I think a lot of people thought the sisterhood, if you even have looked at it before, was really all about human design. And so what I want to say is human design is embedded into what we do in the sisterhood, as we're going to bring up some human design here today, but it's not so much just learning human design. It's really about our ability to grow ourselves into sovereign beings. And that is an ongoing process. It's not a destination we're going to reach, if you will. It's an ongoing experience and a state of consciousness.
It really feels like a sisterhood because I don't know, I think it's really special that you communicate on a, well, kind of intimate basis because you share a lot of things, intimate things about yourself, things that are hard for you, or joyful things, or whatever, with sisters from all over the world. I really love that. I'm in Europe, but like many of are in America or somewhere else in Europe, and it's really, really feels like a community. And it's online, but you really, I don't know, grow a connection with each other, and I really love it. And for myself, I have many friends, but they are not on a spiritual growth path or not really working on themselves. And I do, that's very important for me. So this is a place for me to grow and blossom or show my vulnerability or whatever, or all my questions about human design. And I personally really love the creative practices that Maggie offers. But it's so versatile, when someone has some problem or something, and then Maggie thinks, oh, we could do neuro tools, and we are like, what are neuro tools? And then she always has like a huge amount of things she offers to help us grow. So that's really, I really love that because I never heard of breath of fire or Kundalini yoga or anything. And you just get a lot of I don't know, you get a lot of things you can work with and just find out for yourself what works for you or not. Some people are not creative at all, but you know, you have the, yeah, you have the tools, and it's a way to get out of your left brain thinking into your right brain more feeling state, which really helps you. I'm really always on my in my head, and it really helps me to come into my body more and yeah, just find out about an intuitive side of myself I didn't know anything about. So that's great. It's really, I don't know, it's really like things you need, and Maggie finds a way to offer it. So it's great. I recommend it to everybody. So be welcome.
Thank you, Rose. I think about like when you first came in, and I remember I suggested a like a writing project because I really believe writing is great. And Rose was like, I'm not getting anything. I don't know. I'm all in my head. And then after a while, she was like, oh my goodness, my soul is talking to me in my journal. I never knew that could happen. So it's like finding like the little paths that you need, right? It's not like I don't have a path that says you must do it this way. I have an environment in which you get to find your path and you get lots of support to do them. Because for me, that's what sovereignty is. It's not about following a path that somebody else developed. I mean, I do have the 8 pillars, but inside of the 8 pillars, you can do it. There's so many ways that you can experience and express them. Yeah. Nona, did you want to share a little? Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll wrap up soon. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I like for sure Rose have been almost a year and a half. I think I came in at 2 months into it. Having taken a class with you before, um, I get so much support. I'm very sensitive, so I'm the crier of the group, just so you know. I'm very sensitive, but part of that is seeing my journey reflected in others and hearing how they have come through something or how they are sitting with something. So my favorite part is just being a being in an environment where you're seen, you're completely seen. They're not giving advice. They're letting you have your emotion. They're letting you have your journey. Um, and just witnessing me and being there and holding me. That's something I don't get in my life. I'm the matriarch of my family recently, um, without other support. And I don't get that support outside of this that says, okay, you're on a journey, you're struggling. It's okay to struggle today. It's okay. Um, so I get a lot of that from the verbal exchange, but also then the tools like the breath of fire. I love the breath of fire. I think I would have lost myself a year and a half ago if I didn't have that every day for 9 months. I did a 9-minute breath of fire. I needed that to survive. And I had that because that was a tool inside there. Um, and then the neuro tools. Um, Maggie is so great at when she learns something and discovers, because she was new to the neuro tools recently also, right? But she's also sharing that. So it's not just human design. There's so much human design if that's what motivates you. We talk about it all the time. Um, but there is also it's a tool like everything else. There's all these little tools and you can take what you need and you can share what you need in your experience and it's there's so much there. We share things with each other that each other don't know about also that maybe Maggie hasn't heard. So um, it is a for me, it has been a lifesaver for sure, and I look forward to it. I look forward to the creative practice. I look forward to the meditations. Yeah, I would highly recommend to anyone.
Mm. Thanks, Nona. Yeah. You've come a long way too. I mean, Nona's going through a divorce and has a daughter with a child. I mean, she's got a lot going on and you've been doing really well. You got to have a taste today of what's possible. And this was, a dive. It was a 3 hour, whatever dive, right? But you got to take a sense of what's possible for you, what you can feel, what kind of access you can have to your inner being, what neuro tools can do to help you to be more regulated and more resourced and more able to engage with a challenging world that we live in, right? And the question is will you do this stuff on your own, right? Will you, do this, take in what you learned and then practice it and do it on a regular basis? Um, or will it just be an experience that you had and a month from now you'll be like, oh, that was great, but whatever, right? What are you going to do now? And if you feel that this kind of way of loving yourself, being with yourself, honoring yourself so that you can love and honor other people, because if you don't love and honor yourself, it's really hard to do that with for other people, really. And and to do that and to step out of that trauma triangle into really an expression of your soul essence, through your person. And the thing is, your personality can become more and more infused with your soul essence. This is one of the things that Oren teaches that I've been doing for a long time, is you're just helping to soften the architecture of your psyche so that your soul light pours through it more. And so that's a lot of what we're about. And if that is something you're like, I want that at this time, and you aren't going to probably do this on your own, because honestly, most people don't, then I really invite you to come. Come check it out. Like Bogdana said, come and see if you like it. If you're a yes and you're like, gosh, okay, I'm going to go for a year. I want to get that extra session with Maggie, then great, perfect. But if you're also like, I'm not quite sure, but I am curious, you can come and try it out for a month, and leave if you want. Sometimes people do that. We've had people come and go, and it's all good. It's like there's no judgment about you or about us. Like I don't, so you're warmly invited to come if you like what we do. This is the kind of stuff that we do. This is an aspect of it. Yeah.